Good day. A very quick one today. I've just popped down to pick some lettuce, and of course, I have sown broad beans and planted onions and garlic sets. And therefore, what's the first thing that we always do? Go and have a look to see how they're getting on. And even though the broad beans are still nicely tucked up and quiet, and the onions are being quiet in their beds, one of the garlics is beginning to go for it. Can you see there, right in the middle? Just here. It's quite pale. It's got a sort of pinky reddy tinge to it. This is one of the porcelain music garlic that went in. I've checked the mesodrome and the thermodrome and nothing is there yet. It's interesting because this is a week on since planting and none of the garlic that did have green shoots on I planted. So this has literally grown in 7 days. I wondered whether it was an aberration, and I've looked along the lines and I've seen a couple more. If we just, let me zoom out because that's horrible. If we come along here, you see there's another one. And again, it's got a sort of reddy tinge to it. And I saw a third. Where did I see a third? Oh, I did see a third. I can't see it now. But yeah, so there's definitely two, including this one, up. Well, I'm quite pleased about that. Oh, I want to find that third. Oh, there it is. There, look. Can you see? Just there. Again. Let me see if I can put the camera down and zoom in. Can you see it's got that? No, it's not doing. It's got a reddy tinge, reddy pinky tinge. Wow. 7 days. And that's 3 of the porcelain white up. So the porcelain white there, 2 rows down here. And then mesodrome, thermodrome, 2 rows of thermodrome, then 2 rows of mesodrome. But yeah, very excited to see these. Oh, it seems to have a shard, another leaf shard on it. Oh, terrible focusing, sorry. Oh, but yeah, exciting. Let's leave it there. Exciting for me anyway. No, that can't be another one. No. Hang on a sec. I haven't got my glasses on. Hang on a sec. I'm back. Well, yeah, I'm really excited. The sun's gone down, and it was just at an angle where I saw 2 more. I thought at first they were 2 of the 3, and then as I looked, I saw that actually there are 5 that are up. Really happy. Again, the other 2 that I've just seen are porcelain music and not the thermodrome or the mesodrome. But you know what? It's really exciting when we see these things. I wonder about other sports, or not other sports. I wonder about sports and other hobbies and things like that. And they must have their exciting points. And I think for all of us growers, the exciting point is when you just see that first seedling coming through, or just see the first garlic shoot coming through, or the first 5 in this case. Very exciting. What wasn't quite so exciting was two other bits of sankfoil that I found. But you know what? I teased them out slowly like I did the other day, and they are now in our perennial compost bin. So yeah, that's great. Whilst I'm here, and that hair, what's that hair doing? Look, don't know. Go somewhere. That's it. Um, the other day, you may have seen I took the two gooseberries back to bare roots. And the reason I did that was because I wanted to make sure there was no weed, no sankfoil, no mare's tail, no couch grass, no weeds in those roots at all. Now, growing and gardening and allotmenteering is very much a case of learning from your mistakes. And certainly when I was given those two gooseberry bushes the other day, I knew exactly what I had to do because of what I didn't do last year with a gooseberry and a black currant. Let me show you. This is a gooseberry that I dug out of our new, inverted commas, plot last year. And as you can see, it's full of weed. There's dandelion leaf, there's this terrible sankfoil that we really hate, couch grass, just full of weeds. And the reason it's like that is because I just potted it up. I did not take it back to bare root. So just like a blackcurrant I was given last year, I'm going to do this and the blackcurrant the same way as I did the gooseberries the other day. I'm going to take them back to bare root. But this is why it's important to take it back to bare root. If you take it back to bare root and get rid of all of these weeds, you're unlikely to get them coming back and interfering both with the growth of the fruit bush and also the fruiting of it. So there we are. That's why I took it back. The sun has really crept below the tree line now and it's getting quite chilly. So yeah, this is on now. Oh, there's a cormorant. There's a cormorant flying across the blue sky. So I hope just showing you the gooseberry now answers the question of two subscribers who said, why did you take the gooseberries back to bare roots? That gooseberry I've just shown you was on our plot when we took it over last year, on this plot that I'm sitting on now. In fact, it was under the garlic bed, and all I did last year was dig it out with the soil that was around it, add a bit more soil into the black tub, and then put the gooseberry in and then put a bit more soil in. So I didn't take it back to bare roots. And what has happened is all of the perennial weeds and the other weeds that were in that soil anyway have obviously done very well this year. By taking it back to clean, bare roots, you're getting rid of all of those perennial weeds, and hopefully you'll have very, very few, if any, when you put it back into the ground or pot it up. So yeah, that one gooseberry and the blackcurrant that I didn't show you just now, I will be taking those back to bare roots in the coming week and then putting them back into those pots in clean soil. All of that soil will be going into our perennial compost bin. I'll talk a bit more about the types of bin that we have tomorrow, in fact, because there's a little experiment that I want to do for Earth's sake, which is about composting something. So I'll chat to you about that tomorrow and just tell you about what compost bins we do have around the site. See you then. Bye. Can you hear that? That's sparrows in our hedge at the allotment. That's a parakeet going over them. But yeah, we have so many sparrows that live in this hedge line. And then when you walk in, they go quiet. Isn't that incredible? From noisy. I don't know if you can see them jumping through there, but they've gone from chitter chatter to virtual silence. A couple of cheeps. Bless. Good day. I was hoping I would be able to do a bit outside, but since I came in the gate and got to the shed, it's really started drizzling out there, so I'm not going to be able to do a segment outside today. Yeah, those sparrows, they are just such fun. I mean, they really are. They're glorious. If it's noisy, particularly if at the weekend, if the pub is well, not full of people at this time because of COVID, but if it's sort of very, very busy and there's lots of noise, then they tend to stay quite quiet. But when I got to the gate today, I realized that it was very, very quiet. But because of that, the sparrows were really, really going for it. I mean, really chirpy, cheep, as you heard at the beginning of that. And I came in the gate really quietly and I locked the gate behind me quietly. And as you can see, well, not you didn't see me do this, but I sort of crept along the path a bit and then started the video. And you get to a certain point in the path and they realize that, oh, there's some danger. There's a human being. We better be quiet. And as you saw, they just go really, really quiet. It's fabulous. I love how they do that. It amuses me. Every time I come down and they do that, it amuses me. So, bless. Yeah, so I was going to do something outside today. I was going to put up the coal frame, which is next to me here, still waiting to be put up. But I'm not going to do that. It's just too wet. I did briefly mention I was going to chat about compost bins. So I think I will do that today. On the footage that I upload to YouTube, I'll just overlay over my voiceover the images. But let me just take you through the compost bins that we have. So starting right at the back behind the poly, we have our hot bin composter. Now, hot bin is actually a brand name. That's the brand of our hot bin. A hot bin composter is effectively insulated, so it keeps more of the heat in and it builds up heat inside. And of course, heat builds up heat. Very often our compost bin, I mean, at the moment inside it's 42 degrees. What is the temperature at the moment? At the moment, it's 15.7 degrees in the shed. So it's almost 3 times as hot inside our compost bin. The outside reading is 32 degrees. And the hot bin composter is really good for putting in weeds that may have seeds or perennial weeds, because it composts in a different way, and the heat effectively, all of the bad bits in your perennial weeds and your seeds of perennial weeds, they just all compost down and can be used. So that's really, really good. Next to it is our pallet bin composter, which you may have seen me build a good 3 years ago, I think now, shortly after we put the polytunnel up. So that pallet composter bin is a cold composter. It doesn't have any insulation to it. It's open to the elements. We do put cardboard on top so it doesn't get too wet. But of course, we also have to take the cardboard off to make sure that it's not too dry. It's really important with all composting to make sure that you have a good mix of greens and browns. And do just Google composting and you'll sort of get to understand why you need a really good mix of something that is alive, i.e. green, and something that is brown, i.e. cardboard, leaves, newspaper, that type of thing. So that one takes so going back to the hot bin composter, we've had 4 loads out of that this year in 2020. The pallet composter has still got stuff that we put in at the back end of last year, and I'll be using most of that over the coming months. It'll most probably come out in January and go onto some of our beds. Then moving a bit further down, we have our perennial bin. That's where we put perennial weeds. Again, it's a coal composter. It's not a hot composter, but it's completely enclosed. It is actually a green waste bin. It's a big green waste bin that somebody had from the council, and they weren't using it, and they said, would you like to have it? And as we already had one for our green composting, our curbside composting at home, I brought it down here, and I'm putting perennial weeds in that. And effectively that will take quite a long time, years in fact, to compost down. I do put chicken manure pellets into it to add nitrogen to it and to sort of get it going a bit, but I don't add too much browns to it. I want everything in there to really rot down rather than compost down. It can get quite wet as well, but I'm not worried about that for that bin. Then if we move to the front of our plot, we've got the big hexagonal plastic bin, which I think is about 900 litres. Now that again is a coal composter. There's no insulation to it. There's quite a lot of chicken manure in there and quite a lot of the bedding from the horses in there. Plus we put a lot of our kitchen scraps into it. And then next to that is a traditional Dalek compost bin. You often see the ones that you get from the council talked about as Dalek compost bins. Very often they're black. Ours is black. And that again is a coal composter. So we chop everything up. We chop all our greens. So all of our leaves and the turnip tops that we don't use for cooking. Other things, sort of brassica leaves that we're not going to be eating. Anything that's not a perennial weed goes into our cold compost bin, this Dalek compost bin. Lots of shredded paper goes in there as well, and lots of torn up cardboard, as you've seen me doing before. So that's getting the mix of browns and greens right, or greens and browns the other way around. Again, I put chicken manure pellets in there. We do have another sort of Dalek compost bin, but it's not a Dalek shape, but it is like a Dalek compost bin. And that has just sort of things that I am happy to take ages to compost down. They might be bits of wood or really, really chunky stems, things like that go into that one. So we have a variety of different composting bins on site. As you know, I do quite a lot for a waste-free and plastic-free shop called For Earth's Sake in Cranley in Surrey. And as of today, they have just got in a compostable cling film, cling wrap, as it's called, I think, in America. Now, we tend not to use cling film. The traditional one is plastic and it's really bad for the environment. But so many customers of For Earth's Sake has said, can you find us an environmentally friendly cling film? That's what we have done, and that's what the shop has done. The one they have in at the moment, which goes on sale today, is a catering size, so it's really, really quite big. But I am trialing one called Silva, S-I-L-V-A, I think it is. And it's just the same size as you might get for a normal cling film, if you like, a normal full plastic cling film, which, as I say, we don't use anymore. What I'm doing is I have bits which we have used, and I'm going to be composting these. So I've got 3 pieces. Let me just put that there. I've got 3 pieces here. I think these, we do have sandwich wraps and things like that, but I wanted to do my composting. So these I used the other day when we went to, where did we go? Oh, Aston Rowant. I put my sandwiches in these. Now, One of these is going to go into our hot bin composter. One is going to go into our Dalek, our black Dalek compost bin. And this one here is just going to go into a bucket with water in it, because I'm going to see how quickly whether it dissolves or whether it decomposes and composts. I'm going to mark the days that I put it in, which is today, not the days, the day that I put it in, which is today, and see how long that's going to take to compost. Another experiment is with these Amazon Prime labels. Now, when I contacted Amazon quite a few years ago, they said that the Prime label, which is this, has got plastic threads going through it and it couldn't be composted. But I've now been told that this one, the one they're now using, is fully compostable and fully biodegradable. Now, there is a difference between compostable and biodegradable, and I'll mostly go into that in another video at a later time. So what I'm seeing is whether these are actually compostable. So I'm going to just tear this into two. I'm not sure if you can see, there's sort of like a thread there. That's the bit that apparently used to be plastic and apparently now isn't. And I'm going to put this into our hot bin composter and this into our Dalek cold composter with one of these. And we'll just see how long it takes for those things to compost. A little experiment, if you like. Again, sorry, I thought it was going to be a short one today and I've been rambling a little bit, but apologies for that. It's still quite damp out there. There are a few things I want to do. I'll mostly put my coat on here, or my I can't remember what it's called, gilet on, and go out there and do a bit of deadheading. Everything, because things are getting a bit colder and the nights are particularly getting colder, things are beginning to look a bit weaker. Excuse me. Things are beginning to look a bit weaker. So the cosmos over by the chickens, our neighbours' chickens, that was doing really, really well. That one that started flowering really late and was quite tight and bunched up, it's now looking quite flat. Well, flatter, it's not flat, but it's looking quite open and not as tight as it was before. It's still flowering. All of the cosmos are still flowering. So there we are. We haven't had a frost as yet. Yeah, let's not talk about that F word. Yeah, want those another sort of good few weeks away. Yeah, I don't want that ground to start hardening before I start working on other bits of the plot. Anyway, I'm going. I will see you again very, very soon. Thanks for watching. Bye. Good day. This is where our carrots were. I've just tickled all the ground over. I've pulled out a few carrots there, you can see. We didn't have that many carrots. Somebody asked about carrots the other day. We didn't have that many because Fenella decided to use this as a bed. She took the raised bed wording literally and used it as a bed. Fortunately, she didn't sleep on the parsnip, so they've done okay. But what I want to do here is I want to turn this into a temporary cold frame. I have these bits of perspex. I suppose they're perspex, aren't they? Bits of perspex, 4 sheets of perspex. And I want to see if I can just construct a temporary cold frame. Now, as you know, the edges of our beds, the feet are on the inside. So where I'd love to have something that goes right up to here, some of it won't. And obviously I don't want to leave this area particularly exposed. So if I put a sheet here, all of this area down here will be exposed. So what I'm thinking of doing is resting 2 sheets along here, and then resting 1 sheet along this edge, a separate sheet, and another separate sheet along that edge. And hopefully by doing that, I'll be able to have some type of Heath Robinson coal frame. Not quite sure how long it will be. I did think the other day Vivi mentioned bricks, and I thought I might be able to put bricks down the middle as supports. And then I realised last night I found on the roadside a whole load of these pots. So I think what I'm going to do is do a line of pots across there, and then another line of pots across here, and that will mean that the perspex can rest on those. So it will be resting on the edges, and it will be also supported by a central row of pots here and a row of pots here at the end. I don't know how far I'll be able to come out this way, but yeah, let me just get on, and then I can show you what I mean when I'm halfway through. First of all, I'm going to have to take that out because I don't want those bamboos or that amaranth in the way. I gave the soil a raking and then a tamping down, and as you can see, I've sort of done a, well, I haven't sort of, I have done a line of those upturned pots there for the perspex to rest in the middle, sort of. And then I've done another line here, which I've put a brick in the middle to tighten it up. I'm not too worried. There's a bigger gap between these two and these two, so that there's an airflow between these 2 sides. But at the end, I don't particularly want airflow coming in, so I put a brick to tighten that up, and then I've put a board down here to effectively stop any wind coming in from there that might come in over the winter. I mean, it's not going to be windproof, don't get me wrong. This is just trying to give some protection and give a little bit more heat to it, because by having the perspex on top, it will allow for a bit more heat retention, basically. Well, quite a bit more heat retention, one hopes, at least 4 or 5 degrees, fingers crossed, especially as there's going to effectively be a double layer across here. Let me pop you on the tripod, and then I can see how the perspex sheets fit. Right, I see my error. If you can see, do I need to shorten these? I think I don't want to shorten them. It would work apart from these legs here. What I was hoping to do was have one that rested against here, and one that rested there, and one that rested across there, and one that oh, hang on, have I got more perspex sheets? I think I have. Is this overkill? Oh, mm, ah, mm, right. Okay, that's certainly Heath Robinson, isn't it? But you know what? There's still light getting in there, and that's really the point. This is just a temporary thing. So I think I'm going to go with this. You see, my issue is, let me bring you down. The issue is because I'm trying to do this longer than the length, if you like, of each of these Perspex pieces, because they're all the same. I will end up with a gap like this, which obviously cold air will really get in there, and I don't want that to happen. So by going for overkill, yeah, it is overkill, but you know what? It's temporary overkill. I think that's all right. The Perspex is quite heavy, but I will put some bricks or something down the center to make sure that they don't blow away. Let's get back up. Yeah, that's definitely overkill, but that's workable overkill. Okay. That will work for a temporary measure. That's all I'm looking for. I'm looking to add a couple of months to our lettuce, which are outside. Let's just go and have a look at those. We have a number of lettuce which have self-seeded. There we are. There's one that has self-seeded, a lettuce that has self-seeded, another one that self-seeded, and over in the bed where the Florence fennel is, some other lettuce have self-seeded. And you can see there's another one that has. And then down here are lettuce that I think will transplant. And if I come over here, we have another lettuce here that I think will transplant. So I'm just trying to lengthen this season of outdoor lettuce. We have plenty of indoor lettuce, but the crispness of outdoor lettuce is just fabulous. I have been wondering about taking these nets off, as you know, and then I look at this. Well, let's have a look at that lettuce over there. Can you see how it's been pecked? Interestingly, they've gone for the Kos style lettuce and not the frizzy style lettuce. They seem to love this variety. We'll have a good munch on that variety, but they don't seem to like that variety. Right, now that's quite a big lettuce. Let me see if it actually fits underneath the plastic when planted, when replanted. Okay, so I've moved these 4 and these 4 over here. Because this one here is quite large, I took some of the soil out to lower the level so that the green is not against the glass. I think there'll mostly be about a good few centimetres, maybe an inch between the lettuce and the glass. And that's what I've taken out. I will utilise that somewhere else. And now I'm going to put the perspex back on. And that will be my Heath Robinson thing. Oh, look at that millipede over there. Can you see him? No, look. I'll make sure when I put the perspex on I don't hurt him or her. I'm not sure if... yeah, I'm not very good at sexing millipedes. That's job done. As you can see, these are tiles which have got quite a bit of weight in them, so I've put two along the edges, 2 layers of tiles along the edges, 3 there and 2 along the edge up there. Our prevailing wind comes this way and this way, so what I have done is I've laid this final sheet here that sort of is the topper, if you like, so any wind that comes that way will hopefully just skip over the top. Yeah, so that's one way that we're elongating our season with a rather Heath Robinson contraption of 6 perspex panels, which perspex panels, which I can't say that, can I? Perspex panels, which I'm very lucky to have. I was given 2 a good couple of months ago and 4 recently, so that's great. Right, very windy, very blustery. See you again soon. Bye. Good day. I decided to treat myself the other day, and I bought some bulbs, some spring flowering bulbs. The 2 on the left are freesias. The top in the middle is an iris called Metallic Mixture. Then there's tulip at the front. What's that called? Cream Cocktail. And then finally, top right is an amaryllis bulb called Lemon Star. These were on a really good offer at Van Meeuwen website, so I decided to treat myself. The amaryllis, I think, was down from something like 12 or 13 pounds down to 3, and all of the other bags were 3 pounds as well. So I'm pleased with what I've got, and I will be planting some of these over the weekend. I'll see you then. Bye. Good day. Just popped down to do a little bit of harvesting. I'm going to harvest some lettuce for this evening. Checking on the garlics. Still only the porcelain music up. You can see, what's that? That's about 3 inches now. There's about 12 that have, well, there are 12 that have come above the ground so far. That's about maybe 4 inches, that one. What I am noticing, can you see in the middle, that sort of clover type leaf? That's cinquefoil. So even though I really try to get every root out of these two beds. There are still some coming up, so I'm just really pulling them very gently to get as much root out as possible. What I did notice is that one, if you can see that in the middle, that's a shoot from onions. So there's one onion up, and there's also those shoots, which to me look like something like wheat. They'll be coming out. But whilst, oh look, that one's just needs a bit of tucking under. There hasn't been much heave of onions or garlic so far this year. We haven't really had the frozen ground yet to heave the garlic or onions out of the ground. So that's when effectively the ground gets tighter when it freezes and pushes the bulbs or the garlic cloves out of the ground. I just hope that the roots get well established enough for that not to happen this year. Let's go and have a quick check on the pea shoots, the quick soak dried peas I sowed last week. I've checked on the broad beans and there's nothing there yet. There is a little deposit from a fox on there, but never mind about that. So here we are. These are the quick soak dried peas I sowed last week. You can see that some are germinating, like here, but you can see the fuzziness in quite a lot of them. So if you look around here, it's fuzzy here, here. That's because those are going mouldy. So yes, quick soak dried peas do germinate, but many begin to go mouldy. And really, I think this is proving the point that if you're going to do pea shoots, use proper dried peas and marrow fat peas rather than the quick soak variety. I'll just leave those for a few days, though to be frank, I can't see anything happening to these than them going into our compost. What I do have at home is I have some other marrow fat peas, so I will be sowing those in a few days. But I think this puts to right the idea that I said you shouldn't use quick soak dried peas for pea shoots. Right, I will see you again tomorrow. Bye. Good day. Bit of tidying today. This is our celeriac bed. And over there, as you know, is where our brassicas are. You can see quite a lot of leaves, yellowing leaves in there. So I'm going to be getting in there and taking those out. And on the celeriac, what you do, this is quite a small one here, but when they bulb up, start bulbing up, you take the lower leaves off so that the energy goes into the bulb. I should have really done this a while ago, but I didn't. So I've got quite a bit of work to do on this bed. I'll show you it once I've done it. And the stalks, where the leaves are a bit brown, I won't be using them, but the stalks I will actually be using those, taking them home, giving them a good wash, and then freezing them to add as a flavouring to soups over the winter months. Yeah, let's see how much I get done before the rain comes in. That's a much more open view than before. Some of them are bulbing up really quite nicely. You look at that one in there, which is really decent. That one over there, there's the cheeky prince next to it.
Some are still really tiny and not really bulbing up at all, but we can use the leaves. Some, like this one, have got a red tinge to them, which is interesting. We've got a couple like that one there. So what I've been doing is just taking the outer leaves off, tearing the outer leaves off. I mean, not like that, but sort of like that. So grabbing a leaf. Let's go to this side. We'll do on this one. So I'm just literally taking that off. And then this bit is actually going to go into the compost because I've got plenty now for soups. I've also tidied up the brassicas over there and decided to take the nets off. Taking nets off this load, mainly because there's still a huge amount of aphids on some of them. Let me show you. We did have one in here which was absolutely covered in aphids, so I've taken it out. But look, you see on that leaf, eggs. Oh, you can't, so I wasn't showing you. Eggs in there, and also in here. Quite a lot of damage from aphids. So I'm taking, as you can hear, most probably it's very breezy. So I'm taking the nets off in the hope that that breeze will get to them all and it will stop becoming a microclimate underneath the netting. Hopefully that will help. The Brussels are developing well. We need to start picking them. You can see there, they're sort of well over thumb size now. So yeah, that's it. I'm going to roll up this netting and put it away and have a cup of tea. But that's it for today. These are going in our composter, just into the hexagonal composter up there. There's no weeds in there. But what I am noticing in weeding these beds is again the amount of cinquefoil in there. So I'm going to be doing exactly the same with these beds as I did with these. So there we are. That's another a week at the plot. It was quite interesting taking or going in there to take off those yellow leaves of those brassicas, because it was only when I took the nets off I noticed how many aphids were in there. I mean, it's October, it's November. Halloween was last night, it's actually November, and there's still aphids there. What I have noticed, I've looked at the other brassicas higher up on the plot here that are netted as well, and I've noted that there are no aphids on them. Interestingly, we have a complete bed of Portuguese cabbage and a complete bed of Portuguese cabbage and kale thousandhead with a couple of Brussels sprouts in that are still growing. And the aphids are only on the Brussels sprouts in that bed. In this bed, they seem to be on the Brussels and on the purple sprouting broccoli. So what I'm hoping is that by taking those nets off, the aphids will effectively be blown about in the wind. The problem with taking the nets off is we do get pigeon damage occasionally here. Though when I look across the way to our neighbour's plot, they've got really fabulous Cavallo Nero that is not covered, and it has not been pecked by pigeons at all. So I'm wondering if the stronger things, the things that may taste stronger, like Cavallo Nero and the Portuguese cabbage that we have, I'm hoping they won't get pecked as much as the lettuce is being pecked at the moment. But maybe for our site, it's better to look at those things that the pigeons are avoiding and grow more of those than stick to the same things that we grow each year. And in fact, next year I'm cutting down on the amount of brassicas that we're growing anyway, the types of brassicas that we're growing. We will definitely be growing fewer. I don't think we're growing any calibres next year. I don't think we're growing any cauliflower next year.
I think we're sticking basically to green leaves rather than doing more collies and broccoli and calabrese. Anyway, that's for another video. Thanks very much for watching. If you're on Planet Vegetaria, then you will see maybe whether there's pigeon damage in the next couple of days, because I'll obviously point it out. If you're not on Planet Vegetarian and you watch this on YouTube, I will talk about it on YouTube next week. Fingers crossed we don't get any pigeon damage though. Okay, see you again very soon. Bye.